Hello. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, and I've just kind of been dealing with some things, finishing up some courses and everything. But lately, too, I've also been pondering. I've been pondering something that I keep running into, even within Christian circles, is that the issue of boundaries. A lot of people keep telling me when I talk to them, and yes, in the dating world and everything, um, it seems like people are not comfortable when somebody tells them no. I've had people sit there and say, well, if you say no to me, well, then you don't love me. Well, of course, I don't rush with my emotions, for one. For two, love has nothing to do with whether or not we say yes or no. As Christians, we need to stop trying to force people to adhere to a thing of always saying yes. If God always said yes to us, regardless um, if it would be good for us or not, like asking to have somebody specifically marry us, even though we don't know exactly what that person's like, just based on their looks, you know, or being able to do something that, we think would bring us joy, but down the road, God sees where it could lead us to folly. God created us each individually and uniquely. So that means each of us have things that are okay to allow into our lives and things that are not okay. Each of us will react differently to things. In one of my courses that I just finished, it's called Neuroscience and Counseling. Um, the thing is pathways in brains form differently for each person based on their experiences. Okay, so what that means is that we have to sit there and think about what it is that brings us joy, brings us peace, allows us to be kind to others. Because some people, I think, overextend themselves. They don't have clear enough boundaries in place to where they can say no, or to where they feel safe enough to say no. So they're saying yes, but inside they're really saying no. My pastor had touched on this too. He had said one Sunday that, sometimes he would say yes, but inside he was like, no, you know, and I think a lot of us do that. A lot of us make decisions based on what we think others want instead of based on what we're really saying inside. Saying no to certain things, even God will say no. Christ himself would take time to go away from crowds when he needed to spend dedicated time with the Father. He had boundaries, like there would be specific people that he would allow in his inner circle. And even those people were not privy to everything that he did. He had clearly defined boundaries of people, of community, and everything. And by having those boundaries, he was able to do the will of God, the will of his Father upon earth as he walked the earth. If we don't have boundaries in place, if we don't know what our boundaries are, or if we fall into the thing where somebody says, well, if you would do this, then, whether you want to or not, guess what? It's going to lead to a lot of heartache. In my life, I have had a lot of trouble being able to set boundaries. I have had a lot of trouble understanding what is okay and what isn't okay. I would say yes to things, but inside I would be clenching and I would be nervous. I would be angry, and I would take that out on people. So when you don't know your boundaries, when you don't clearly define your boundaries, it can create havoc. But the opposite flip of that is when other people don't respect your boundaries. So just because somebody says no to something you are asking does not mean they are saying no to you, nor does it mean that they do not love you. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is tell somebody no. It is okay to even say no to your pastor. An instance, okay, at our church, we need help. There's times where we need help in the nursery. I did go up and offer, And the thing is, though, is that it's not really something I want to do. I don't want to deal with babies. It's not my calling. That doesn't make me a bad person or unloving. It just means that when I think about being around children, I get, specifically infants, I get a knot in my chest. I get scared. I get, like I start to have physical sensations in my body, like, my stomach will start churning, my breathing will change, because it's just not what I want to do. It's not where my calling is. My calling, and this took years to get to. My calling is helping others to understand biblical truths and helping them to apply them so that they can live a healed life. That is my calling. That is why I'm in school to become a licensed professional counselor. That is why I want to be a Christian counselor, to be able to apply the things that I'm learning about psychology and neuroscience and bring that alongside biblical principles. And here's the cool thing. When we set healthy boundaries and we have that peace and that security of knowing that we're not going to get pushed, our heart rates go lower, we have better relationships with people. Because when you can say no and you can clearly define where you end and they begin, even in a marriage, you can then be able to truly be yourself. It doesn't mean that you get upset with somebody and say, well, I'm going to do this because you didn't do this. No, that's not a boundary. I mean, yes, it is a boundary. It's like, well, but you don't say it like that. You don't do it like that. So when you set a boundary, it's not about being vindictive. It is not about getting back at people. It is about saying, look, I don't have the resources to do this. When I say no to people, it's not because I don't want to help. It's because I can't help. It's not because I don't love them. It's because if I were to try to do what they're asking, I would not be loving them. I would not be able to show them love because inside I have anxiety. Inside I have anger. Inside I have turmoil. And that's why God said, when we give, we should give with a happy heart. And that's why Christ looked at what the woman had given. She gave everything she could, but hers was so much less than what the rich man. When we give out of what we were able to joyfully, when we give it joyfully, then it is blessed more than if we just give because, we think we're supposed to. That's what boundaries do. They help us to be able to more effectively have charity for other people. It means that we can go from a place of chaos within to a place of peace. And when we go forth in peace and in love, then doing things because that's how our unique way of serving the Lord can be, then we would have a church that would be able to shine the light of Jesus. Not everybody was intended to be a children's ministry. Not everybody was intended to be on the worship team. Not everybody is intended to preach. Not everybody is intended to evangelize. Not everybody is intended to prophesy. We should, yes, want those things, but we should not be saying yes just because it is a good work, because good works mean nothing if your heart is not in the right place. And for those of you who think that somebody telling you no means they don't love you, do you think that God doesn't love you simply because he says no or wait? Do you think that because God says no, don't do this, it is unloving? Yet a lot of times the no's that God says is to protect us, to keep us safe. In the same way, people who say no it's not to hurt you. It's not to push you away. It's because they don't have the resources to do what you're asking with a joyful heart. It means that it's too much for them. And that's okay. And that's why we're supposed to have community. Okay. So when somebody tells us no, instead of getting mad at them, say, okay, thank you. And go and find somebody else that might say yes. It's okay to ask for help. In fact, In Ecclesiastes, it talks about how, two are better than one, and a strand of three is not easily broken. And what that means is that within community, we can have, even if one person says no, guess what? Then another person might say yes. That's how the body works together. So having boundaries simply allows us as Christians, as human beings, to be able to live a life that is full of peace, full of love, being able to give out of our abundance of joy, of love, because when love overflows, when you have peace overflowing, guess what you do? You spread it around. You spread the life of God, of Christ around. Take a note from Jesus and stop being afraid when people say no. Stop thinking that because somebody said no to you, that they don't love you. Remember, sometimes, a lot of times, a no is the most loving thing that somebody can say to you instead of trying to go and do what you're asking them to do and making it worse. Even God says no to us. God says, don't do this. And you don't have to listen. You can get mad at them. But then that shows more about you than it shows about them, whether or not they love you or not. A parent will say no to a child to protect them. A friend will say no to somebody because they can't do what they're asking. And better to say no than to say yes and not want to help. So that's my little thing about boundaries, because people, even in the church, seem to think that telling people no is wrong. Saying no to ministry is wrong. But if it is not your calling, it's not where you're supposed to be setting your foot. Seek God first. Ask Him to show you how to set healthy boundaries. And it's not easy. For 3 years, I've been working on learning how to set boundaries. And when I have to enforce one, it is the hardest thing I have to do, because I don't want to have to say no. I don't want to make that person feel bad. But at the same time, I just can't sometimes. Sometimes I don't have the finances. Sometimes I just don't have the energy reserves. Sometimes I don't have the time. It's not about not loving that person. It's knowing where my limit is. It's knowing what I have that I can give to others. And when I give to others what I can and do so with a joyful heart, then it can be blessed tenfold. So if I say no to you, it's not because I hate you. It's simply because I can't, and I pray about it, and God has said to me, you can't right now. I follow what the Spirit says to me instead of what other people want. I hope you will all do the same, and that as you go forth, you will start to learn a little bit more about how to set healthy biblical boundaries on how to interact with other people. I mean, you can read through it. Proverbs has a whole bunch. Ecclesiastes, New Testament has all of these ways on how to treat people, how we should interact, and how to set healthy biblical boundaries. If you're curious, just Google it. Say, what does the Bible say about setting healthy boundaries? That's what I had to do when I started 3 years ago. And let me tell you, my life is better. It's not that I don't get upset, but I'm starting to realize that when people say no to me or when they can't have time for me, doesn't mean they hate me. And it allows me then to have more secure attachments to people without wondering if they're going to leave. So I hope you learn more about your boundaries. Just remember, no does not mean you are not loved. Have a great day.